Justin Britt, welcome to the podcast, my man.
No, I appreciate you having me, man. Pleasure.
This will be a lot of fun. Justin, if someone is not familiar with you or your story, what is your sell on why they should stick around and listen to what you have to say?
Well, I'm a former NFL vet. I was in the business for 9 years, and I stepped away after week one because of sudden depression and anxiety, and went from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows really rapidly. And ultimately, I made the decision to save myself by removing myself from football, from what I thought was causing the issue. And I slowly started to climb my way out, and it led me to wanting to keep moving, being active, and that ultimately led me to running. And I call it an accidental love story. And yeah, I mean, who would have thought like a NFL center would be out here running half marathons, training for a marathon, and not just doing it at a slow pace, like we're going for it. We're full send. So got the coach, we got the agent, we got the whole thing going. So it's really kind of gave me an opportunity to keep finding myself and keep discovering who I am and competing. And so I guess my message is, if you're going through something that it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be, the end all. There's people who have it all and they're still going through it. So, yeah, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and you just have to find what you love and go after it. That's the podcast.
And that we're done. I want to read you a quote that I think means a lot to you. Do you not know that in a race, all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. What does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, it's tattooed on my left chest. It's First Corinthians 9:24, and that's kind of what Run the Race kind of was kind of born from, in my sense. Um, kind of became a mindset, like in the football aspect, like we're all trying to win the Super Bowl, right? Only one gets to hold the trophy up. And so I went through it like, okay, we're all running the race, we're all playing the season, only one gets the trophy. What are we going to do that's going to separate us so at the end we're the ones victorious? So I would just preach, it's in the finer details, it's in the things you do when people aren't watching, and how you eat, how you sleep, how you recover. And so you kind of take that into life. Um, you know, everyone's trying to get a promotion, everyone's trying to get a raise, hit strike gold, if you will, in whatever category you're in. But so is the guy next to you, the girl next to you. So what are you going to do? It's going to separate you to kind of give you the bump. So in running, it's pretty simple. You know what I mean? But I'm not trying to be a pro. I'm not going to break a 4 minute mile. I'm realistic. I'm 270, 260. And so um, I like to compete with other people, but ultimately I'm racing myself.
You talked about a couple things that many would consider cliche advice. So you mentioned, eating well, how is your sleep? I'm assuming being consistent is another piece of advice, if you're looking to either make the NFL or get better at running. And I've been thinking a lot about this recently, and I've come to the question of, do you think that cliche advice is underrated? Because people hear be consistent, stay, be authentic, and I think a lot of people hear that advice and they're like, oh, well, that's too simple. Like, that can't possibly be the answer. Like, okay, I just have to show up every single day. Like, that's too simple of an answer. So, in your own experience, do you think that some of that quote unquote cliche advice, or you could say, advice that's been around for a while, is underrated?
For sure. I think if we try to complex something, it becomes complicated. Um, the more simple it is, the easier it is to follow. So people are always like, how do you start running? Like, how do I start? Like, just go for a run. And and then the next day go for a run. And the distance doesn't matter, but the fact that you're starting and you're finishing, that's the important part. So if you're just trying to get better every day, you're going to reach the goals you want to get to. But um, obviously, you can't go out there and eat gummy bears and drink a bottle of whiskey and think you're gonna, run a sub 3 hour marathon. You know what I mean? So, I think, there's nothing more consistent than the cliche sayings. You know what I mean? So eat right every day. You wake up and it starts with breakfast and the sleep is super important because that's when your body recovers. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's all kind of scientific. And so, there's proof in the pudding, and I think you just keep it simple and don't complicate it. And um, you, for one, for me, I won't get overwhelmed. And so it's easier to follow if I just wake up and for me, have the same breakfast almost every morning. You know what I mean? I know what to expect. I know um, my body knows what's going to happen. And so start the day with a run and the rest is going to happen.
It is running something that you naturally found to be fun, or is it something that you had to make fun?
Um, well, it's interesting. My first run, I couldn't complete a mile. But it was my fault because it was July in Houston and um I was fresh out football, kind of refound myself mentally. So all I knew was to go full out, like sprint. And so I didn't last that long. But then I didn't run. I kind of put that on the side for like 9 months. I didn't run again for 9 months. I went back to gym and cycling. I was like, running's not for me. But then it kind of kept, I kept hearing the voice in my head saying, go for a run. And so I finally did. And it was at first a challenge. Like I wanted to make it easy. Um, but then I found enjoyment in it because like I love music. And so that's a great outlet to just get out there and listen to a new album. Um, and so I did that and I learned some new music, but then I got kind of good at it and got kind of fast with it. And I signed up for my first race, and I was addicted after that because that was as close mentally to a football game that I could get out of anything. So um, it's been all fun. I've enjoyed everything, even the days that were hard. Um, the hip pointers or the stress, and the muscles, the soreness. I've enjoyed it all because I don't know, I'm just used to being in about 30 car wrecks every Sunday, so running's kind of nothing to me. Um, but marathon training is a work, you know what I mean? That's almost a job for your legs. So they're starting to get used to it, and but no, I love it, and I always look forward to the next race. And I've never had a run um, where I was like, I regret doing that. You know what I mean? I've had days where I regret not running. So,
Yeah, I've been trying to get into running recently too. I played water polo in high school, so like swimming and being in the pool is kind of my cup of tea. Was never a runner. Never liked running. I'm starting to like it a little bit more, but I'll tell you what, running in Florida in the summer is it's
I
pretty
can
tough.
imagine.
So if that's
What,
why when you were mentioning Houston, I was like, yeah, I understand that heat.
yeah, I honestly don't know how I began my running journey out in Houston. It makes no sense to me because we just went back and I couldn't breathe while I was running. And so it's like, I'm like, yeah, it's flat, but you can't breathe. And then you come out here and it's like, you could breathe a lot better, but then you got just nothing but hills. And so it's like, pick your poison.
It's like pick your poison.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But you got the swimming down, you're basically right there to do an Ironman. That's the hardest part for people.
Yeah, so yeah, it's actually fun you mentioned that because I when I was swimming a lot last year, and I met this guy who was swimming in the lane next to me, and I noticed he was wearing like an Ironman cap, and whenever we started talking about Ironmans and the training for it, and he was like, honestly, my recommendation, even if you're not ready, just go and do it. Because there's so much stuff that you have to just like more of like logistically with an Ironman that you have to get used to the transitions, the start, like all these different things that you might not consider. He was like, just go out, do it, like try to finish. Even if you don't finish, it doesn't matter. Just kind of get used to the setup, and then after that, you can kind of hone in on where you're struggling and all that stuff. So I don't know, man. Like I said, the running is tough, definitely tough. But to your point, you just have to kind of go out and do it. And this piece of advice that I always tell myself before I go out on a run, which I don't know if you can resonate with this, but I always used to think that like if I go out for a run, I have to go for a certain distance and hit a certain time, or else the entire run is a disappointment and a failure. And so I'd always put that pressure on myself of like, you need to hit this distance and time. And I heard this piece of advice, which is, being consistent doesn't mean always being your best every single time you go out and do something. It just means showing up. So if on a certain day you're like, hey, I really don't think I could do whatever, 2 miles at a 7 minute pace. Let me just go out and do a mile. Let me just go out and do half a mile. Let me just go out there. Let me, go for a walk if I have to, if I don't feel like running. So that's something that I've been like thinking a lot about recently is just like, dude, just get out there. It doesn't matter if you run your best. It doesn't matter if you break your own personal record. Just go out and do it.
Yeah, I mean, before I was doing all these races and like had a coach and was trying to hit certain times in certain races, um, I was going out there and having fun. I was kind of like you. I was like, I have a minimum of a 5K. I was like, that's a good distance. But the first mile would tell me how the race was or how that run was going to go. So if I walked out the door, because I didn't stretch, I still don't really stretch or warm up. I just kind of let the first mile tell me and warm me up, you know what I mean? So if I walk out the door and my first mile comes back and it says like 6:30, I'm like, oh, we're gonna go fast today. Or if it comes back and it's like 8:45, I'm like, all right, we got heavy legs today. And you can kind of feel it. So like you said, just showing up, that's what the consistency is putting the shoes on and going out the door. You hit start on the watch, and however far you go, when you hit stop, like be proud of that because there's people who didn't get out and run today or didn't get out and move today. And so the fact that you got out there and ran anything is what is is the reward, right? So I understand it though.
I want to ask you, man. So for those who are unfamiliar with your journey, you seemingly were always a multi-sport athlete. So in high school, you did football, wrestling, and track. You actually won the Missouri State Heavyweight Wrestling Championship as a senior. You went 45-0, according to the internet, and you're also all-state in football at the same time. So you always seem to have this like inclination towards doing a bunch of sports, and obviously you made yourself a career in the NFL, and now you're into running. I'm just curious between wrestling, football, running, just the different things that those sports have taught you. And do you think that you would be the person you are today if you hadn't had that wide experience within sports?
No, for sure. I don't think I think each thing kind of shaped me into the at least the athlete that I ended up being. Um, I think wrestling taught me mentally the man in the arena kind of aspect. Like you're a team, but it's only you and the other guy in the circle, and everyone's watching you. You know what I mean? So um, I hated losing, and I wasn't gonna let someone else kind of control me. And so, um, yeah, I my senior year was a lot of fun, and um, I learned a lot, and um, I think wrestling kind of transitioned me into being a better lineman because it taught me uh, kind of leverage and momentum, and it made me better with my hands, and it kind of um, helped further the separation of like your feet have to move differently than your hands. In running, your right knee comes up, your left hand's, you know what I mean? It's like this, like, but you're playing O line, like your hands are they're different than your feet. So um, just kind of that kind of aspect of it, I think is really important for linemen to wrestle. Um, but basketball is also real beneficial for linemen in their foot development. So I just couldn't dribble. I'm not good at basketball, so I went to wrestle. I did track just to get out of school, honestly. And I was the biggest student in high school, so they're like, dude, you gotta throw a shot. And so I was like, all right. But then I was like, but you gotta let me have fun with it. I was like, if I'm going to be out here with a cooler of food, like let me like do stuff too. So that in the JV part in the meets, they would let me run the 200. I never won, but I never lost. And I swear I ran a 25. Um, but yeah, I think it all kind of came hand in hand. Um, because I think, being able to run the 200 track like made it, um, I don't know, made me quicker. I don't know. But I think just kind of being active the whole year and not being dormant. Like I don't like the linemen who or the football players who do football and then spend the rest of the year just working out. Because you're just like more than half the year you're just getting stiff. You know what I mean? You're just squatting and benching, you're just getting stiff. So it's like get out there. Wrestling kept me flexible. You know what I mean? Which probably ultimately helped me avoid injuries in my career. So, um, yeah, I think it all kind of hand in hand, and there's nothing that I would change. Um, you know, I tried doing baseball, but they just wanted to throw the ball at me, so I didn't hit it. So I was like, I'm not doing that. So the spring was kind of a what are the options, and there was only track or baseball. So, but I think ultimately, like uh, wrestling definitely played a huge role in how I, you know, transitioned into a blocker.
There's been this movement recently, and I think we just live in this era of like over optimization with everything, but especially with like youth sports in America, where kids are being told from the age of 4 or 5, like, hey, this is your sport, only practice this sport, until whatever you're 18. And there seems to be a lot of pushback against that. Like LeBron on his podcast was talking about it with Steve Nash, and they were saying, kids should explore and like see what they like to play, and like having that experience in multiple sports is ultimately good for the kid, not bad for the kid. And it sounds like that would be your advice to someone who might be going through it now, is like try your hand in a bunch of different things.
Yeah, and it'll keep it fun. If you like doing soccer all year round, like eventually they're gonna get tired of it. And you're like, they're not even 12 yet. So they need that mental break from, looking at the ball and trying to kick it into the goal. They need the mental break from um throwing the ball and catching the ball. Like even the professional athletes like in the NFL, they'll take a good month or two off after the season ends. You just need that break. So but I think it's super important, like I said, for the development. And so um, I don't think I would have been as flexible as light on my feet, or maybe I would have played a lot taller if I didn't wrestle. You know what I mean? If I played basketball and then did football, maybe I would have been a taller blocker, and maybe I wouldn't have made it to the league. So yeah, no, I 100% agree.
You've been pretty vocal about some of the mental health issues that you went through, especially post NFL. You mentioned mental breaks. Do you think you did a good job of giving yourself mental breaks when you were in the league?
Yeah, for sure. Enjoyed my trip to Cabo every year. Um, Whenever we were in Seattle, we pretty much stayed up there all year. I really didn't feel the like depression aspect of like the weather until COVID, and I was just stuck in my house every day. And you wake up, it's raining, go to sleep, it's raining, wake up, it's raining. And so it was like I can't leave my house and do anything. So, um, but no, I think for the most part, especially out in Seattle, our time out there was kind of like a movie to us and how it went. So I just, I think going from a place like that to anywhere, but to where Houston was at the time, I just think it kind of ate away at me, and I avoided, acknowledging it. But yeah, I mean, it all probably happened for a reason, right?
I mean, I'm a believer that everything happens for a reason. I mean, listen, there's plenty of different paths that your life can go down. But I just ultimately think that you end up Um, I think you end up stronger, and I'm sure you would agree with that. Like if you go through certain challenges and certain pain in your life, and I'm curious, like, is that how you view some of the struggles that you've had? Like, are you now grateful for that? Because in the moment, it's tough to be grateful, but looking back, I'm curious if you have like a different perspective on some of those challenges.
Well, I can't change it. You know what I mean? So, just like the Super Bowl, like I can't go back and call a timeout and be like, we should run the ball. So to throw that in there, but no, I can't change it. So I'm grateful for the relationships that I was able to meet in Houston and build. Like I have some lifelong friends that um we'll always see and stay in touch with every year. And for whatever reason, like maybe the running wouldn't have happened if I wasn't in Houston. So and I was able to get one of my friends to get addicted to running and he's in Houston. So, um, no, I mean, there's no regrets, because I was confident in the decision at the time, and you know what I mean? Like, it just kind of happened. So, I've kind of made peace with it. It's been a little bit now, and I love where we're at, and then I love this running journey we're on. So, um, if an NFL team wanted to call me and want me to come play tight end, minimum, I would do it. But I don't think that's going to happen. So we'll just keep training for marathons.
What all right, well I have to ask you what tight end would you model your game? Model might be too strong a word, but like who do you think you would play as? Like are you more of a blocking guy? Are you more of a receiver? Like what type of tight end are you?
I wouldn't expect them to throw me the ball. So I'd be ready to just pancake some DNs for sure. But if they want to sneak me out, I'll catch it. I do have one catch in college, so just let me know. I'm available.
George Kittle, best blocking tight end in the league?
Yeah, but he's also going to be a better catcher than me. So
Yeah.
I might catch him on the blocking aspect, but I just hope if I was able to come back that I would have as much fun as him.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. His mic'd up moments always crack me up. He's a lunatic, like in the best way possible. But he's insane. Justin, listen, I didn't want to bring it up because I'm a big 49ers fan. You brought it up, so now I have to ask you about the 2014 Super Bowl and about there's that one play at the end where everyone thought that a certain someone was going to get the ball and you guys were going to take the lead and probably win the Super Bowl. But a different call came in. I mean, from your vantage point, like, what are you like? I'm assuming you had thought, like, oh, we're definitely running the ball here.
Probably. Um, but I was also a rookie, so um, like honestly, I was probably in the huddle just looking around and just kind of mindlessly waiting for Russ to tell me to play. So um, probably a lot of anxiety, a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement because the play before that, Marshawn got like 8 yards. But I think we were all like, "Man, why'd you fall?" Like we looked at Marshawn, we're like, "Why'd you trip?" So it's unlike him. But no, I mean, maybe if I was in year seven, year eight, I'd be like, "Hey, timeout, timeout. Let me tell you a story." You know what I mean? But my rookie year, I'm just kind of chilling. I'm just kind of chilling. I'm like, "What's a play?" And um, my nightmare is I can still hear the ball going by my left ear. So, and then I run up there to touch Malcolm down. I'm just looking around like, "There's got to be a flag." I'm like, "This is not how the movie ends. This is not how we lose." But it is, and it was, and yeah, I did think we were gonna go back though, but it's super hard to get there. So I didn't get to win one, so me mentally, I'm mad about it, but I'm like, shoot, I got to play in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? And it's been like 11 years, so whatever.
How I hear that phrase all the time, like it's hard to make it back to the Super Bowl, but what specifically is the hardest part? Like, is it staying healthy? Is it something else? Like, what specifically makes it so difficult?
No, it's hard to win. It's hard to win in the league. Even the worst teams can show up and beat you, you know what I mean? Um, so there's no week that's really a gimme week, and so to like we started this conversation, being consistent, like that's super hard. Like it's easy to like show up, but then to be consistently good, like that's super hard. But I think Pete out in Seattle was able to build that family chemistry and that bond, the camaraderie, and we all kind of accepted that we were going to be dominant and we weren't going to take, the crap, and we were going to set the tone. And on offense, we were like, we have the best defense, so all we got to do is, you know, go score points, and they're going to keep them from scoring more than us. And we had Marshawn, we had Russ, I mean, we had Doug, Jermaine, Ricardo, and so Chris Matthews was balling that year. There's so many like um, my rookie year was so fun to play next to Zach Miller. I just want to throw it out there. That's a tight end that's kind of forgotten, but he was a stud. Um, but it was just fun to show up and compete. And we knew every day we were going to flirt with the line of fighting and getting better. And you know, the second um, that kind of got broken up, it was kind of hard to kind of piece it back together, after that game. So
Do you like is it and I want you to be honest. Is it harder to get up for, like, let's say you're coming into a week and you're playing a team that's, whatever, 2-9. Like, is it harder to get up for those games? I'm assuming for like division games and especially big games, like you guys are playing the Packers, it's like, all right, like everyone's fired up, we want to beat the Packers. But like, if you're playing the 2-9 Cardinals, albeit it's a division game, but I'm sure that it's a little bit harder to motivate yourself to go out and perform, or is it not?
heck no, you know what I mean? Like I'm playing in the NFL. And the games is what that's our recess time. That's like whenever we get to go out and just it's fun. It's not work. So at least for me, um, wake up. And Seattle was really good about this. Every practice, every game was they trained you mentally to treat it the same way. So week one felt the same in the Super Bowl mentally. You know what I mean? Obviously it's heightened because Super Bowl, but like you're prepared. So like I was real routine based whenever it came to the weekend, Friday and on. Um, and so, no, I woke up on game day, already had my outfit laid out, start playing my music, go eat my same breakfast, show up, be one of the first ones in the locker room, and just kind of mentally just lose yourself in the moment. And then, no, I mean, I was excited to play anybody because if I did think they weren't good enough, then I wanted to have one of my best games. But I also loved the challenge of like Aaron Donald, and I knew that was going to be a brawl. I knew whenever we played the Niners that it was going to be real physical, and especially in the trenches and their linebackers. So, um, like I love playing at Arizona because I thought I played best there. But they weren't really there wasn't really anybody in our division that was kind of a gimme, you know what I mean? I'm talking like individual wise, like players that I went up against. So every week you had to prepare and be ready, or you were going to get your butt whooped because they were doing the same. So it's kind of like the run the race theory, you know what I mean? Like I was trying to do the little things that was going to make me better than the guy I was going to get up against. So um, I just bought into doing my part, doing my job.
You mentioned Aaron Donald. I have a question, and then we're gonna try something new on this podcast. Never been done before. So this is either gonna go really well or it's gonna go really bad. But you know what? We're gonna smile through it. Either way. Um, Aaron Donald, is he like a big smack talker? Because like anytime I watch him on TV, it seems like he kind of just goes about, dominates everyone, and then like that's it.
He's subtle with it. He's subtle with it, but I don't know. I don't remember like um a lot of things he would say, but it's just for me it was kind of like the demeanor. Like we know you're good, but like you don't got to treat us this way. You know what I mean? Like and so I don't know. It was kind of the kid who always been good at sports, and I was like, we get it. And I was like, but I'm coming to kind of like you know put my name in the drawing too. So, we know whenever you go up against one of the best, it's an opportunity to kind of make a name for yourself. And whenever I showed up in the league, um, me and Aaron were in the same class. So, the Rams and the Seahawks had a real hateful rivalry where, the year before there was several ejections, a lot of penalties in both games, and they highlight that. So me, a rookie, and afterwards, you know what I mean? I'm like, all right, the Rams are coming into town. All right, the Niners are coming into town. I'm like, all right, that just kind of adds like I'm going to be a little bit more of a prick. And so, they're doing the same. And so you got a little shoving each way. Tempers are going to start to rise. And I think the bully doesn't like getting bullied. So that I think that's whatever the bully starts having a temper.
Speaking of temper, perfect lead in. I am going to, and this is the part of the podcast where this might go really well, really bad. I'm going to share my screen here, and I'm going to bring up a play where Aaron Donald's temper might have flared up. And we're going to go through it, and I want you to lead me through like what happened. We'll watch the video first, and then we'll kind of go through it here. That's you, by the way, 68 for, I guess, for the audience. You're walking away and clapping. I love it. So that's essentially, you and Aaron got into a little scuffle. By the way, I didn't notice this, but I was looking at some of the comments and very divided. Britt was a state champion wrestler. Donald definitely didn't want to go there. Brent didn't want none of that smoke after the game. LOL. Aaron Donald is a DT with linebacker athleticism. Valid. Justin Britt would fuck Donald up. Aaron Donald is very strong, but Britt is someone you don't want to get messed with. This goes on and on. Britt was all talk until Aaron Donald got in his face. Don't hit someone well after they go out of bounds and act like a tough guy. So very divided, but for you in that perspective, like, just lead me through it. Like, what are you What are you thinking? What are you feeling? And do you even remember that
Um,
play at all?
but yeah, I remember that play. I remember that whole game. Uh, it was just one of those. I don't even think there was much going on before that. Like he wasn't even doing much to me uh before that, but maybe picking on my guards, you know what I mean? And having that little like uh attitude, if you will. But I think at that moment I knew it was incomplete because I saw Russ throw it and I saw the refs kind of blowing it. And so I saw him picking up and he was kind of juking people out, acting a fool. And so I was like, I'm gonna go hit him. And so I know he stepped out of bounds. You know what I mean? Like we were like 2 yards in the bounds, but like I was like that committed. I ran that far, I was gonna hit him. And so I was just walking away. Um, and he came around and he tried to fish hook me, but he couldn't get his finger on my mouth. And so I tell you what, Aaron grabs your face mask, you cannot get that off. You just can't. Like that's one thing he's really good at is holding on to a face mask. And so all I could do was laugh at him. And then I remember Sean McVay just be like, Aaron, don't, Aaron, don't, Aaron. And then Aaron didn't look my way the rest of the game. And so after the game, I was like, all right, we're cool. And so I was dabbing people. I'm like, good game, good game, good game. I think they won. And then here he comes with no shoulder pads on. And I think I said out loud, I was like, what the hell? And then he's like, you say something. it was something like, "You say something now? You want to say something now?" And I was like, "Get out of my face." Probably said it real politely, and then I mean, he grabbed my face mask again and said I couldn't get it off, so I just laughed at him again. But um, no, I mean, there's times I wish I was like, man, I should have just gave him a two-piece right there. But no, I've joked. I was like, if they want to do a boxing match, I'll sign up for it. But I think he's set with money, so it's not. And so am I. But I'm just saying, I'll wrestle him.
I listen. As you know, someone who doesn't have any skin in this game. I'm down for a Justin Britt, Aaron Donald boxing match. We need to get that set up as soon as possible. That would be amazing TV. I'm in. You sold me.
And, you know what I mean? For the record, like I've acknowledged, like he's a really good defensive tackle and a great player. And
Yeah.
I don't know him outside of football, so I'm not bashing him as an individual. So that's all playful on my end.
No, oh, strictly football. Yeah, strictly what happened on the football field. I get it. Justin, dude, I got a couple more questions for you, and then we're gonna get into actually some fan questions. And all these fan questions come from the Seahawks Reddit page. So this is the they're straight from arguably, I mean, back then definitely some of the more passionate fans in the league. So I'm excited to read you some of these questions that they had for you. You mentioned, I think in an Instagram post, that Pete Carroll changed your life. It's pretty strong words. I understand the impact that coaches can have on players, but changing your life, why do you say that?
Well, I mean, they drafted me, you know what I mean? And him drafting me and giving me the starting spot and just the opportunity, that that changed my life like overnight. And so, I mean, there's nothing more that needs to be said than the rest is history. But he brought me to Seattle and gave me that opportunity. So, yeah, I mean, Seattle's as a whole has a very special place in my heart and my wife's heart, and my kids too. So, um, no, I mean that definitely changed our lives, and forever grateful.
What should fans know about Pete as a coach that maybe doesn't get portrayed in the media?
That is, I don't know. They do a good job. Um, Pete's, I mean, what you see is kind of what you get. Um, he loves his players. He'll do anything for them, and he just loves to compete and have fun. And um, if he can, he'll have his boys coaching with him. So, um, yeah, I think what they kind of put out there is, you know, a good kind of representation of who he is.
Yeah, he's I can't remember who I had on the podcast, but they were talking about like their brother going to play for Pete Carroll. I think when he was still at USC, and he was just like, dude, always always upbeat. Like practices are always super fun. Like he's running routes with the receivers. Like he's in the trenches with you. Like he's you mentioned family and how the those Seahawks teams felt like a family. That's what they said as well. It's just like one big family. Like he did such a great job of incorporating everyone. And I'm excited to see how he does with the Raiders, because the Raiders, even though I hate the Raiders, but I will say that I think it's one of those franchises that the NFL is just better when they're good. They're an iconic franchise.
And I think like Pete's such a lovable person, even if you're not like a Seahawk fan, um, you'd be like, he seems like a really good guy though. And
Yeah,
so it's hard to and like he comes back in the league and you're just like it feels good to have Pete back in the NFL.
yeah.
And so you're like it's hard to not root for him to at least have some success and to kind of solidify his name back in the business. So
Listen, it's a bad day to be a piece of gum whenever you see Pete Carroll walking your way, walking your way. No, all jokes aside, couldn't agree more, man. I obviously ton of respect for Pete. Now, I've come to appreciate the work that he did with with your Seahawk teams, and like I said, I hope he does well with the Raiders. All right, Justin, I think this is gonna be fun. So I have some fan questions for you. They
Fire away.
vary, they vary everything from mental health to Russ to everything in between. So, let's go through some of these. First question, again, these are all from Reddit. Question goes, you could ask him about playing under O-line coach Tom Cable, who had a very interesting reputation within the league. He was the main coach supporting the now banned chop blocking strategy.
Well, Coach Cable, Tom Cable, he was like a mentor, still kind of is. Um, a coach that I would go out there and like go fishing on Lake Washington with, or if I had like some family issues. Again, I'm from Missouri, so he was kind of the older male kind of influence in my life I would see every day. So he kind of helped me in some pivotal moments in my life. And then he was a real smart, good football coach. Um, and I was lucky to have him early in my career. And the chop blocking, like they banned that because of us for sure. And mainly probably because J.R. Sweezy. But that was a fun time to be an offensive lineman. Because the right guard could post up and just hold on to the defender, and so just holding the defender up, and then you just come in, doop. But some poor D lineman got hurt because of it, and so it's probably best that it's banned. But it did kind of change how the run game and the football had to be played because that he didn't invent it. You know what I mean? Like he pushed it every week in our scheme, and so it became like his thing in the modern era, but it's not new. Running backs be patient, be patient. The back of the line is gonna fall down, and boom, there's your hole. And so, I think the only ones complaining are the people who had to go up against this. But we're just sad that they banned it. But we tried to evolve just like everyone else. We were just better at it, I guess.
Second question. I actually really like this one. It says when an offensive line is struggling, fans tend to jump to a lot of conclusions about why that is, usually blaming individual players' talents or abilities. What's something most fans don't know about offensive line play and the difficulties of creating a single effective unit out of five dudes?
Um, well, you're not going to be perfect. You strive for consistency, but like just as hard as it is to win in the NFL, like it's hard to run the ball. And so if you can run the ball, then you have a great success to win, right? But the offensive line is kind of a one unit. So if one of them's if you have an issue in one spot, then you kind of how can I say this? Like if you have a hole in your pool, you know what I mean? Like the water's gonna leak through. I don't know how to describe this. I don't know. Don't be quick to judge. Don't be quick to, point fingers. You don't know the assignment. You don't know how many reads that lineman had to have. Yes, he should have made the block, but the NFL is hard, and so we're trying. I don't know. Be easy on
How
us.
yeah, for real. How difficult? This is my question, not a fan question. But how difficult is like crowd noise, especially on the offensive line? I mean, you played in Seattle where it's super loud. Like, do you ever like? I imagine being on the other team, the away team. It's probably pretty difficult to communicate across that line.
Yeah, I um Arrowhead was probably the second loudest place. I always thought Seattle was the loudest, and oddly enough, maybe not oddly, it's indoor, but the second loudest away place I've ever played at was Dallas in the playoffs. I couldn't hear the guard next to me, he couldn't hear me. So I mean, if you're preparing to play at Arrowhead, then you spend the whole week kind of not talking at the line. You're just using your hand signals and trying to communicate that way because you ain't going to hear the guy next to you. Just like at CenturyLink, if I was sitting right here and my guard's right next to me, like he wouldn't, I would have to wait for like a timeout to say anything. So I love it. It kind of, whenever I'm out there and the crowd's going crazy, it just kind of locks you in. Like you have to focus, super focus. You have to be exact. And so, especially at center, like me and Russ had to be so in tune with each other that like he's doing all this pointing and stuff, and I just have to wait for the right boom. He just like we just see each other, you know what I mean? Or the guard would tap me, and so I'm sitting there, I'm waiting for the guard to tap me. Guard taps me, I'm like, all right, we're going, and then boom, you know what I mean? So I loved it, and it was cool, kind of growing up and in high school, college, and NFL. You kind of see it grow, and it kind of gets louder each time. But some colleges though might be louder than a lot of NFL stadiums, but it was kind of cool, and it just kind of, you know what I mean? I remember going to football games when I was a kid, and going to Arrowhead and watching like Mike Vick play, Dante Hall, and all them, and so you know I think every week you sit back and you're like, dang, like I'm one of them, and so you just kind of enjoy that moment, and so no, it was cool. I enjoyed it.
Third fan question. It says he's played all over the offensive line, but as far as I can tell, he didn't ever play center in high school or college. So, what was the transition to center like? As he has played basically every position on the line at some level, what are the challenges unique to each position?
Yeah. They tried to get me to snap once in college in the spring, but it wasn't working out. So they like go back to tackle. Um, but when I made that transition, I was kind of iffy about it because I just had to make the transition to guard, and that wasn't a lot of fun for me. And so, um, I did it because I still wanted to play, and that was going to be a great way to kind of lock my name in because we needed a center for like the long haul. So I was like, you know what? I know the offense. Me and Russ have a relationship. I was like, let me go for it. And then it was kind of like running. Like every day, I just found something new to enjoy about it. And so whether I was like meetings with the quarterbacks and the coaches, and just learning little nuances, and being a little bit more behind the scenes of things was cool to me. But then also, break that huddle, you turn around, you're like, this is my show. Like, I'm the one touching the ball before anybody. And so nothing starts until I move the ball. And that was really cool to me. Sometimes I moved it early, and I'm sorry for that. But I was antsy and excited. And I just, I don't know, center was probably more enjoyable to me than playing left tackle in college. And um, I don't know if all centers feel that way, but I just found my home and enjoyed it. Um, Guard is kind of hybrid position. You kind of have to play in space, but also play in a phone booth. And I just couldn't find that happy medium. So I had a real up and down year in my 1 year at left guard, but um, I thought I was a pretty good tackle, and especially the Super Bowl that we lost, like that was one of my best games. And so I went into the off season real excited to make a big leap forward, and was having a good camp, good preseason. But number wise, we just needed someone to play guard, and I was the next guy able to do it. And so that's kind of how that unfolded. But it's kind of like um, people want the kind of differences by position. Like the further you get out from the ball, the more space you have to cover. The quicker the defenders are, the more elusive they are. So the harder it is, you know what I mean? And the further inside you get, the stronger they are, the bigger they are, and the closer to the ball you are. You know what I mean? So, but on the inside, you're probably going to have more double teams and more help. On the outside, like you're not going to have much help. But like you look at Laramie Tunsil, that's why he gets paid the big bucks, and um, we were teammates out in Houston, so you see someone like that work, you're like, okay, that makes sense. But like Laramie Tunsil couldn't come in and play center. You know what I mean? I couldn't go out and play tackle the way he does it. So, um, I think your body type also plays a role. I think some guys are more centers and guards, and some guys are more lanky and built for tackle. So there's a lot of, well, we could talk for hours about differences in positions, but um, yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up.
Ask him if he's comfortable sharing more about his mental health issues that caused him to retire. Men's mental health is downplayed and covered up so often. Hearing more about his experience, the cause, dealing with it, and overcoming it would be very helpful, especially from someone who had already achieved and accomplished so much. Professional football player, wealthy, married. Um, just, I know we talked a little bit about it throughout the podcast, but I know there's also a ton of people out there that do struggle with mental health. And to this question, it is often covered up, especially on, with men, and especially in the NFL. Doesn't get talked about nearly enough. Now I feel like it's finally starting to bubble up. But like, what would be your advice to someone dealing with it? And to this question, asking just kind of the cause and how you overcame some of those challenges.
My advice would be to not try to go through it alone. Everyone's got someone who cares about them. So, um, they care about you enough. They'll be there to assist you and help you and not judge you. That trend that's going around is like we listen, we don't judge. You know what I mean? Like that's real. That needs to be real. But the cause of it, I don't know, honestly. It could have been going from, like I said, the highs of Seattle to the lows of Houston, where the head coach seemed like a puppet, and he couldn't even remember my last name as he named me captain for the week. I'm like, how do you mispronounce my name? But he would spell it Brent. And so I'm like, how does this happen? And he did it both times. And then, you just, you, I don't know, it was just tough to lose every week and then show up to work and then be expected to be the same person. And whenever things were kind of not changing and it was always the same thing. And this is just like what I've kind of gathered through therapy, right? Like, I don't know what the cause is. Um, like I had fun most days there, and my friends that I made were really cool, and ultimately, the handful of friends that I walked away with were there for me whenever I needed them, and I even whenever I literally couldn't be there for them. And so, um, I don't know. Like I knew something was wrong, like in the middle of the week one game. It was like I was looking, I was like out of body experience, kind of watching myself like I'm playing Madden, and I wasn't in control of some of the buttons that were being pressed. And so things were unfolding in the game, things that I've never done before. And it was just kind of like happening. And then I remember my coach yelling at me, which isn't a big deal. That's not an issue. But like emotionally, how small that made me feel in the like middle of the NFL game on the sideline. I was like this isn't good. And so I'm notorious for being one of the last ones out of the locker room in my time in Seattle and in Houston. But my last football game, I didn't even shower. I just changed my clothes and grabbed my wife and went in the car and I cried for like half an hour. And so, and I didn't know why I was crying. We tied. I didn't feel bad that we tied. Who cares? But yeah, we played Sunday. We had Monday off. I went to work Tuesday. Um, and I have notes from film that we watched, and I remember I can see the coach yelling at me, but everything else I don't remember the day at all. And so that night, I, you know, talked to the PA and then ultimately called the team. And I was like, I'm not mentally fit to come to work. And I just never went back because one, I wasn't ready for a long time, but then two, um, it just kind of where I was like kind of finding myself outside of it. And I think there was some fear of falling back down the hole if I went back to it because I was just going to walk right back in the same door. And so that's just kind of how realistically, honestly, how it unfolded. But you know, I don't know if like the Texans is the fault. You know what I mean? Like there's plenty of people who work there, have worked there, are working there, and they're doing great. So it's just, you know what I mean? Like my mind broke, and they say the NFL is not for long. So it was kind of like after I kind of clawed my way out of the hole, I was like, well, my time's over. I mean, I'm at peace with it. Let's try to transition smoothly, and that was the most important thing was transitioning.
Um, appreciate the honesty, man, and the transparency. And one of the reasons why I started this podcast is to try and get a little more insights into the reality of athletes, right? Whether it be NFL, NBA, NHL, doesn't matter. With the NFL specifically, and again, like I've been at fault for this. As a fan, I see Justin Britt miss a tackle, and I go on Twitter and I say, this guy sucks. And little do I know that Justin is, struggling with mental health, or maybe a big catastrophic life event happened right before the game. Like I've had other athletes who have come on and said, Cesar Ruiz, who plays for the Saints now, he's like, I had to play a game right after my grandmother passed away, like before the game, or it was the night before the game. He was like, yeah, like I wasn't mentally right, and you could see it on the field. Like it wasn't my best performance. So like I think as fans, like we often forget that like these are real human beings, and these are just like everybody else. They have emotions. They go through their ups and downs. They have bad days. And I encourage like everyone who's listening to this, imagine if whatever job you're working at, if you had random people on the internet, critiquing your performance every single day or every single Sunday, how mentally taxing that would be. If every single day someone was like, Nick, wow, like you could have written this email better, right? Like I'm kind of making, it's obviously not, it's comparing apples and bananas here, but when you feel that pressure, and again, like I'm never gonna feel that, right? Like I'm never gonna experience what you did, but I think it's very valuable to hear that perspective and just serve as a reminder to everyone watching, like I get it. We want our teams to win. Like we want, we want to brag that the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, but it's not worth, DMing your favorite player or something, after a bad performance. Cause again, they have bad days just like everyone else.
Yeah, well, you said it. But also, I think like we kind of like we sign up for it. You know what I mean? Like we understand we're on TV and people are buying merchandise and cheering for the Seahawks and or the Texans, and they're mad if we lose. So, but so are we. We're mad too. To your point, we're like, shut up. We're mad too. Like, you know what I mean? But we signed up for it, so I think, um, it's kind of like I said, like give Lyman a break, like give us some credit, but it's like try to give athletes a benefit of the doubt. Like if they go out there and do something crazy and they get ejected, like that's fair. Like they mess up, like they act a fool, like that's fine. But like, yeah, like if they're going out there and trying their hardest and they don't say a word and they're just doing you know, their due diligence to win, then, you know, why not like highlight how good the defender did if he beats a lineman instead of bashing a lineman? And so, um, yeah, that, I've always thought that. I've always thought like, what was it, PFF? I always thought they're a load of crap. And like a lot of people who were judging like never stepped foot on the football field. So it's like, how do you understand like anything? Like you're just creating numbers. Like that doesn't mean anything to the real football fans. But like PFF like controlled a lot of like how much money people got. So like it was like a lot of bull crap. And so because a lot of teams and coaches were like holding weight to PFF. And so I got rid of Twitter because if we won, it was cool. If we lost, then if it wasn't me, it was another lineman getting bashed. And so I got rid of that while I was in Seattle. I was like, this is not going to be good for my mental health down the road. And I'm glad I got rid of it. But I think we sign up for it and we have to understand it. And I think the teams are doing a good job trying to prepare and kind of manage that aspect of it.
I somebody else came on the podcast and they alluded to the conspiracy theory that is PFF. I don't even know if it's a theory anymore. It might just be true that like teams were paying and to try and get better grades because to your point, it controlled a lot of where the money went. So
I think the NFL is a lot of popularity contests in a lot of ways, but um, got in, got my bread, tried to win some games, got out. But I mean, you look at the Pro Bowls and who just goes, it's like it's popularity. Like there's not a lot of like things based off numbers nowadays. It's just like who's going to give me the ratings? So, you know, it just screws some guys out of opportunities and money and contracts and but that's a whole other conversation.
yeah. Justin, a couple more fan questions here. I'll let you go. Is Marshawn in the locker room the same Marshawn we see in the public/media?
No. Well, maybe nowadays. Um, I think he's kind of opened up a little bit more. But I think whenever he's playing, he just wanted to play ball and not talk to the media. I never asked why, probably because they would uh, construe him in certain ways. So I just always do him not talking to the media, but he would always come to my kids' birthday parties, and he FaceTimed me like a month ago. I think while or the Fanatics event was going on, like one of my friends ran up to him and Marshawn FaceTimed me and immediately asked how my kids were doing. So um, no, Marshawn, uh, just like his mom, she's an amazing person. But no, he's one of my favorite people for sure. But I think you got to be. I mean, like I said, I think he's opening up more, but he kept it kind of separate while he's playing.
This is an interesting question. I guess I'll just ask it and we'll go from there. Did Russell scrambling make the O line look worse? Would the O line he was on have blocked more successfully with a different quarterback?
I don't know, man. What kind of question is that? Here. Russ extended a lot of plays whenever it needed to be extended, and whenever he did that, we knew magic was about to happen. And so we just did our job to help extend the play further. Um, Now, there wasn't a lot of times where Russ would have a clean pocket and then be like, all right, I want to scramble. But if he did that, then he'd be like, I couldn't see. You know what I mean? So being real. And so he had to move the pocket. But again, we signed up for it, and kind of did our best to handle that. But um, that's where it gets tough because a sack is a sack as a sack is a sack. And it's on whoever the defender, whoever the lineman touched last. A sack is a sack. So it would help and hurt us, but um, I didn't really have a problem with it. You know, that was my quarterback, and that's how he wanted to roll. Um, you know what I mean? Like there was several times where Russ, like I whiffed on a block, and Russ made them miss, and then threw a freaking bomb. And a lot of times I would have like the worst play of the game for me, like this one play where I like get like was it the Chiefs nose guard, Noddy? His rookie year playing him, he had real good leverage and he lifted me and walked me back to the quarterback. I was like, oh no, I'm going. But then Russ going boom and throws like a 50-yard bomb to Doug. And so that becomes like a week long highlight of me just getting walked back to Russ. And so no, I mean we did a lot of good things. Would we be better with a different quarterback? I don't know. I don't think another I don't know. That's a tough question. I'm gonna
I mean,
not answer that one.
hypothetical
I
isn't
don't
tough. Yeah, that's almost impossible to answer. I mean, there's so many
that's
different factors.
I don't feel like I'm winning answering that question.
Yeah, that's a lose lose for sure.
No, no, I love blocking for Russ.
Yeah. Um, who did you hate going against besides Aaron Donald? Assuming that you hated going against Donald.
Fletcher Cox. Not because I didn't accept the challenge, but every time I played him, for whatever reason, I would end up with like a high ankle sprain in my right ankle. And it'd be because I'm trying to like stop his bull rush and my ankle's like, I can't. And it would just like sprain. And I would miss the next game. And so, no, Fletcher single-handedly made me miss 2 or 3 games. So, no, I don't want to play him.
A couple more questions here to round us out, man, and then we will let you go. This is another Russ question. How did Russell Wilson change in his time on the team? Um, the question also asks, was he always kind of a weirdo, or did that come about as he got more successful? I don't think Russ is a weirdo. I just think he has his own quirks, as we all do. That's obviously that person's perspective. But main question, how did Russ change in his time on the team?
Um, Boy, let me see. I don't know. I think as he got older, he's kind of bought into being the one leading the team and being the voice. And um, he has a lot of experience, a lot of wisdom from his time in the league. So I think that's kind of his demeanor. And he still thinks, still has that mindset that he's one of the best. I'm not saying he isn't. I'm just telling you, like, so that he has that work ethic. I think, I don't know, he probably, I don't know. Um, how did he change? He's had a few more kids, and maybe some gray hairs. I think Russ is a pretty consistent person, and I don't see a ton of waver kind of in his routine and what he's kind of done. You know what I mean? I don't know the in and outs of what he does day to day. I'm not around him, but from afar, it looks like he's still in his routine, in his bag, if you will, and he's still trying to get after it and compete. So, um, I don't think there's probably a lot that's different with Russ than when I was blocking for him, other than he's got some more kids. I think he's probably one of the most consistent players that I was around. So,
Last question here, and this is probably my favorite question. So it goes a bit of a deeper question. What was it like going from being the best player on your team every step of the way and then going to the NFL and experiencing that rough rookie season when you were arguably the worst on the field? PFF was harsh on you, sorry. Like, that's got to fuck with your head a bit, right? How did you overcome that so successfully? And that ability, how would you teach it to others?
well, I don't think I was ever the best on my teams, to begin with, and uh, I quickly bought into my freshman year is when I moved to lineman in high school. So from then on, I quickly accepted the mindset that um, I'm not in it for the accolades. I'll get those in wrestling. Here, I just want to win games and try to go to state, and then I want to try to go to the national championship, which we almost did in college. And then I want to like win the Super Bowl, like you know what I mean, like. But I wanted to play for a long time, and so it wasn't about like the Pro Bowl, All Pros. It wasn't about like the All SEC or All Big 12 or whatever. With team success, individual success will come. You know what I mean? So handle your business, team wins, you'll do good. And so I show up my rookie year. That's my mindset. They probably knew that. They knew I wasn't going to be someone who's going to be in the media talking and trying to make a name for myself, or I was going to go out there and be a fool. I was going to be someone who's going to be pretty consistent and show up and try my hardest. And I was a left tackle in college. And so I showed up in the league, they moved me to right tackle. And so I accept that I'm going to have learning curves. In my first game, I'm going up against Julius Peppers. So excuse me if I'm not perfect. You know what I mean? Um, but I think, Tom Cable, Pete Carroll, but more specifically Tom, um, because I would talk to him like on a daily. I would go sit in his office every now and then, and we would talk, and he would show me the PFF, but then he would sit there and watch film with me and show me the good things I did and the things that amazed him. And so that's what I would walk away from the game. And so by the time we go watch the film with the whole O line, like my mess up will happen, and he's not, cussing me out in front of everyone. He's like, me and Justin talked about this. We're gonna move on. And it's kind of like, you know what I mean? So, um, he did a really good job kind of, you know, keeping it a learning somewhere like something I wanted to learn. Like I took the most notes in Seattle compared to Houston because I was trying to learn. I was trying to get better. It's kind of that was the mindset. So, of course, my rookie year, I had Twitter and all the social medias, and I was trying to please PFF, and I was trying to win the hearts of the Seahawk fans. But we were also winning, so I was like, who cares? I was having the time of my life. I think my second and third year, and are probably my second year when I moved to guard was the year I was like deep into what people were saying, and it like mattered to me, and it was affecting me. And then that's why I got rid of Twitter. I was like, good games, they don't say anything. Bad games, it's all about me. And so, I don't know. Like, I blocked a number of people, and they'd be like, "Oh, you can block on Twitter, but not on the field." I'm like, well, it's a lot easier to block on Twitter, just as easy as it is for you to type this message. So, um, I don't know. It's like it's not about being like sensitive and like upset that someone says something, but it's like if I block like all you people saying it, eventually I won't see all the negative comments. I'm not trying to stop you from saying it, but it's like if it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. And so it's like I already watched the film like 3 times before we even watch it as a team, and so I know what I did wrong. I don't need you guys telling me. So you don't know the play call, the scheme. You don't know any of it. So it's definitely a big mental game, but at the end of the day, it's just football, and you're not going to be perfect, and it's hard to win, and you just try to do as much as you can to win. And if you come up short, then it sucks, and it's going to eat you up. And then you're going to think about the one play that you could have done better. But if you win, none of it matters because that was the goal. So the rest can be corrected. So. Um, Whenever I got to Houston, I just tried to be the best me. Um, Honestly, I didn't have high hopes for a lot of the games, but so I just tried to be the best me and have fun and try to bring someone along with me, and until I couldn't. So um, that's fair. PFF did hate me, but I don't care about that. Not one bit.
I I think to your point too, what you were saying earlier, like like if you had a bad game, like it's like I know I got it, like it was a bad game, and for someone who's as competitive as you are, and athletes in general are super competitive, like you obviously don't want to have a bad game, so you don't need other people telling you like, hey, you had a bad game. It's like, no, I got it, dude. Like totally aware. I've watched the film 4 times, like you said. I'm good. I whiffed on a block. Yeah, cool. Like, you can block on Twitter, but you can't block in the game. Nice one, man. Thanks for. How long did it take you to come up with that? Like, I
It's
don't know.
like in wrestling, like you wouldn't be like you shouldn't have done that move. That's why you got pinned. But like, no, no shit. Like, no, you'd be like, better luck next time. That's all that needs to be said. Like, I know. Like, I'll try better next time. And so it's just people can say things about anything. And so I just kind of built that mindset. I was like I tell my kids, I'm like, control what you control. You can't control what other people say or how they say it. But I was like, you can control how you feel, and how you react to it, and um, how you respond or what you do. So, you know what I mean? Like, there's always gonna be people that say stuff. You know, there's haters everywhere.
I mean, if you're playing against Aaron Donald, honestly, anyone in the NFL is super talented. Like, yes, like there are going to be times where they beat me. Like there will be times where Aaron Donald gets the upper hand. Like that is going to happen. I'm not a perfect I'm not gonna have a perfect record against arguably the best D lineman, arguably of all time. Like many people, would say that, would put him up there. So like it's like, yeah, like I'm gonna lose. Like it happens. We move on. So I don't know. Whatever. The Twitter trolls will always be out there. That's for sure.
But they were also, for whatever reason, the media was real hateful towards Seattle linemen when I was there, and they probably still are. They categorize us as crap and then just continue to spread it. So we just accepted it. We couldn't change it. So we just
Yeah,
it
that's
is what it is.
that's a really good point. I had another question in here that I didn't end up putting, but somebody had asked like, oh, Seattle has a reputation for always having a bad O line. Like how do you change that reputation? How do you change that culture?
Well, I don't know, but again, I think there's a lot of people who don't know football, and they're probably just looking at like, well, like the Eagles linemen, they have a lot of Pro Bowl players, like all, you know what I mean? But like again, I think like the Pro Bowl is like a popularity contest, and so like a lot of people don't know the a guard I might have played with, but they're gonna know like a lot of like the Niners linemen because they were talked about in a good light, or um, the Rams linemen whenever Whitworth was there, and so um, yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, we had so many other characters on our team that the offensive line was just like, yeah, whatever. Like, we don't want to talk to them. We don't want to get to know them. Well, let's go see what Richard's saying. And so, um, you know, which was fine because we didn't want to talk to anybody anyways, but maybe it backfired because they didn't get to know us. And so they were just like, ah, they're terrible. It's like, you don't even know me, bro. I did make a
Yeah.
reporter apologize one time and write a public apology because he
Oh,
messed up.
please,
And,
please do tell. Please do tell the
well,
story.
no, I'm not gonna say his name, but we were just, I think we were playing a playoff game in Minnesota, that cold one,
Hmm.
the one we were
Oh,
playing
the missed field
outdoor.
goal.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think in that play or in that game, yeah, I was left guard. Russell Okung went left and we were supposed to go right. And so, sorry, Russ, but he helped me correct this. But he went left, I went right, and then the three tech on me went free and made the play. And they're like, this. He went on Twitter in right away, and I didn't have Twitter. Someone showed me this, and they were like, he said something like Justin didn't miss, or Justin missed so badly he didn't even go touch him. And I was like, that's crazy. I'm like, that's crazy. And so I saw him the next day in the locker room, and he like came up to me, and I was like, I'm not talking to you. And I was like, you wrote a tweet. And I was like, that wasn't even my job. And then Russell Kuhn came in and laid the law down, and the next day, uh, I had a printed out copy of the published article apologizing that he doesn't know offensive linemen and their job. So, um, yeah, don't be quick to judge.
That's a win for Justin right there. If that's a
And
win, if
then
I've ever seen one.
I kept that article taped on my locker the rest of my career. Just don't be quick to judge us. You don't know my job.
Very fair point. Couldn't have said it better myself. It's interesting too, like with how the media landscape is changing with athlete podcasts, and I guess I'm curious from your perspective. Like, do you think ultimately that's good? Like it seems like the ESPNs of the world have maybe less power than they used to. Now athletes can come on podcasts and actually tell their version of the story and what happened, and it's not going through reporters and like these secondhand messages. Like, do you ultimately think that player podcasts and that this new version of sports media is better?
Yeah, for sure. I think I would have a podcast. I just don't want to do all the work. So,
Yeah,
um,
that's fair. That's
but I
very
think
fair.
I think if the individual has the desire to do it, and the personality to do it, then 100% you're in control of your future and what you say. And at the end of the day, you're still representing the team under contract. But if you can control the narrative, then there's not much, they can say otherwise because you're literally saying it for yourself. So I think it's all for them. And it's another, um, nowadays, it's another kind of income opportunity, you know, it's another way to kind of strike gold. So, um, I'm all for it. I mean, it's entertaining to hear some of it. So I saw,
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's definitely sometimes some wild stuff said on certain podcasts. It's interesting too because it's always like it's a fine balance between like putting out clickbait content and just being like we could have been on this podcast and whatever you could have said, I think Russell Wilson is overrated, right? Like I guarantee you if I post that clip, like that probably would have gotten thousands of views. But like, are you being truthful? Like, is that something that you actually believe in? And then also like, there's a balance between the clickbait stuff and the hot takes and all that versus like actual conversation and like actual. So I don't know, like, and everyone's should be authentic to themselves and have like their own what they're into. Like some people are just super into like again the hot takes, opinions, all that, and that's all fine and dandy. And some people aren't. And like at the end of the day, it just depends what you're into. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's definitely a different world. Podcasting is, I've learned, is definitely an art, and it's an art form. Some people have it, some people don't, and you just have to, figure out who you like. So, Justin, last question for you, man, and we will wrap the pod. You said one thing you've learned as an athlete is that the journey far outweighs the destination. My question is it possible to enjoy the journey in the moment? And if so, how does one do that?
um, to kind of slow down and just make each day individual. I think if it's it's like the people who work 9 to 5 and they're just counting down the minutes to Friday. You might not remember Monday through Thursday, but if you just wake up on Monday, you're like, all right, I'm gonna have a good day, and you just like enjoy everything and like pay attention to like who you meet throughout the day and how they're doing and just little things like that. I think that's how you can enjoy it, and I think that's what I've learned having kids is, um, they're growing up each day and changing so much that, if you don't slow down, they're going to be 18 moving out of your house soon. So, um, yeah, I mean, in the football world, like slow down, listen to the crowd, listen to what they're saying, listen to how they're trash talking you, smell the grass, smell the popcorn, um, just, you know, pay attention to the small details and just enjoy it. And then, yeah, I mean, this run journey, I wake up and, I'm like, I wonder if I'm gonna see any deer today. Or I'm like, I'm gonna count how many rabbits I see this morning. Um, or like I saw a fox at like 5 a.m. the other day, and I like tried to chase it. And so I'm enjoying the journey because the reward is, the marathon. The reward is, the race day. The reward is, um, I don't know, in life, waking up. That's a reward. In football, it's getting to play, win or lose. So, the destination might not always be what you want. You know what I mean? You might lose the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? You might cramp up in a race and not finish. Um, the the we're all gonna die, so that destination is not gonna be fun. But like the journey, there you go. So just enjoy it, slow down. Don't be in a rush to grow up and, um, all that stuff. So, boom.
Per- Perfect way to end the pod, man. Justin, before we leave, where can people find you, more of your work, and plug anything you want?
What? Find me on Instagram, TikTok, Justin Britt 68. Um, and then follow me on Strava, same name. But other than that, stay tuned because we have I'm running a half marathon around Mount Rainier next weekend, but then October 12th, we're running the Chicago Full Marathon, and that'll be our first. And I said we full send, so this training block that we're in is to come out with a blazing time. I don't know what it's going to be yet, so no promises, but um, there's not going to be a lineman who runs as fast as me. So that's my goal. Set the
Love it.
standard.
Love it, man. The world's fastest lineman, Justin Britt.
Uh, I'm trying. We're going for it. We're here.
Hell yeah. Love it. Justin, can't thank you enough, man, for your time today. It was a pleasure talking to you and getting to know a little more about you and just a little more about your journey. And listen, we all go through struggles, and I think hearing your journey and your story was at least very helpful for me, and I hope it's helpful for the audience. We'll put all your links in the description, your social, your Strava, all that good stuff, and make sure to go check out Justin on Instagram. I've been watching a lot of your like running content. Good stuff, man. Like it, I like how it's like it's running, but also part of it is like motivational and like you're kind of tapping into that side of things. So keep it up, man. Really enjoy it.
No, I appreciate you, man. Hey, and run the race. You
Run the
drop that in
race.
there.
Yeah, there you go. Run the race. All right, Justin. Thanks again, man, and hopefully let's stay in touch.
All right. We'll talk soon. Thanks, Nick.
Peace.